seat. We'll get started. Please feel free to come on up front. We need to move you all up front here. We'll move back as you come, but come on up. It's good to see you all here. We appreciate each of you coming. Dr. Carol Spalding is with us this morning, and it's a privilege for me to introduce her, as well as her husband, who is also with us in the back here, Francis Coster. We thank you for joining us as well. Please feel free to have a seat amongst our faculty and staff if you'd like. Dr. Spalding has served as the Open Campus President of Florida Community College in Jacksonville since 1988. She also served as the President of the Downtown Campus from 1998 to 2001. Her other leadership experience includes serving as Dean of the Open Campus, Director of Continuing Education, and Program Coordinator Counselor at Florida Community College. She holds a bachelor's degree in International Studies from the University of Louisville, a master's degree in Human Resource Management from Pepperdine University in California, and a doctorate in education from Columbia University in New York. Please welcome Dr. Carol Spalding.
I appreciate the Southern hospitality. I was telling Jerry, that my mother was born in Rock Hill, and so there were a bunch of Garrisons and Liggins and Ratteries and other folks. If they're bad people, don't tell me. But anyway, my relatives come from here, and it's always been a beautiful place to come. So it's really great to be here too. And thank you very much for your time. I know you've got papers to grade or tests to get ready or something like that. April's a crazy month for community college people, and I appreciate that. I have been, as Jerry said, the campus president in Open Campus for 20 years. And during that time, I've never had the same year twice, which is why I stayed at Florida Community College in Jacksonville for all that time. I got to Jacksonville as a Navy wife. Anybody have any Navy experience in here? 1, 2, okay, 3. Okay. What? Brat? A brat counts. A brat counts. That's how I got to Jacksonville from Louisville, and I appreciate your pronunciation of Louisville. That's amazing. I had to go to Jacksonville and say Louisville to people, and then they said, well, you must not be there because you didn't say it correctly. So it is Louisville. But anyway, I've been in Jacksonville all my adult life. My first job was at FJC at the time, Florida Junior College, and that happened. I taught military Marines. My first job was teaching Marines fully armed in one of the barracks out there. And so when I see these signs saying don't carry your guns in class, I'm like, they must have learned a lot faster than I did because they were fully armed in my class. From there, I got a job working with probationers and parolees, and I was teaching them and trying to get them into classes so that they would be recidivists, they wouldn't go back to prison. That was easy because I had worked with drug abusers in the military after Vietnam, so that had been sort of my start. I really thought I was going to be a secondary education teacher, but I couldn't get a job because I was a Navy wife. And it was not that, I sort of felt discriminated against, but I found out that there was adult education. So I learned how to teach GED, and I taught GED for several years as an elementary at Florida Junior College before being hired to run a grant. And got my master's degree then in Human Resource Management. And then I didn't get the job I really wanted, which was Director of Continuing Education. My best friend did. And so I left and went to a community planning agency where I learned a lot about the big issues that impact community. And I learned a lot of the community leaders and interacted with them and did reports on quality of life and United Way agencies and those kinds of things. And then I was recruited back when my girlfriend got married to this guy I set her up with. And I don't know how these things happen. And so I was recruited back for that job, and I became Director of Continuing Education, where I worked in all kinds of areas very similar to yours, your community services and that kind of thing, for about 5 years. And during that time, Jacksonville was impacted, not like you were impacted with Annapolis or anything, but we had a real change in sea change there, where we had a lot of new businesses come in. AT&T was going through divestiture, and they were going to locate, or were looking at locating a new business. And so we helped them recruit what was then called Convergence to Jacksonville. And that was a 3,000 person change. Now it's on the plus side, not on the minus side, so it was really a good thing for us. It became a call center, and so as people changed their stocks from one company to 5, these people did that. And I interacted with that, the leadership there, and designed their training program. So we had to go up to Piscataway, New Jersey, and interview people to get their jobs, do job analysis, develop curriculum and all that kind of thing, and did a really big impact. It was the beginning of many, many changes like that. Merrill Lynch relocation, many, many relocations from the Rust Belt to the Sun Belt. And so we got our feet wet, probably up to our knees, maybe even over our heads, in economic development work. And that was part of our change. So as we continued to work with these businesses, they had the best training rooms I had ever seen. They had gorgeous training rooms. I mean, I had classroom envy. It was just amazing. You know, we didn't have carpet on our floors or, you know, a nice place to have, you know, coffee or anything. But they did. And, you know, they had smart classrooms. They had all of that. So we rented those rooms and started a college credit program out in sort of the suburbs. And from that, we felt like we really had touched a nerve. There were 45,000 jobs there. Many people were coming to us for college credit, though they could have gone to a campus 8 miles away. They really wanted to be close to home, and they wanted it to be convenient. So we decided we would look for space. So we looked for a shopping center, looked at a shopping center because they had the parking. You know, the strip malls don't have the parking, but the malls have the parking. So we rented some space there, and then we evolved that program over time until finally it was a very unsuccessful mall. It was the Grand Boulevard Mall, and it said, this mall is not for everyone. And it really wasn't for everyone because they went bankrupt. So we ended up renting their space and then growing over time. And so we tried to buy the mall. Well, you had to go through the state of Florida to figure out how to do this. So we engaged our foundation. The foundation made the offer. We had to get financing. It was very complicated. It had never been done before. We had to go through all the state agencies and make testimony. So I did all that work. And so I was really afraid, you know, about what the state board would say about this mall. I said, well, you know, it's really recycling. You know, we're recycling this. And he was a real estate agent. He thought it was the best idea. So we had no trouble getting the money. We got our $4 million. The thing was built for 18. We got it on sale for $4 million. And then we got money from the state, $18 million to renovate it. And so that was a tremendous coup. Our board was really afraid of this. But we talked them into it for one reason, and that was really the people who came there were really afraid of college. And when you got them in a mall, a lot of these women were not afraid of a mall. They were totally comfortable in this mall. And they said, I'm going to the mall. They go to class. They didn't tell anybody they were going to school until they got their first A. And then they were okay with it. But going in, they were afraid. So you've got a lot of students like that. They're afraid of going to school. And so anyway, we started this mall program, and we wanted to renovate it. So we had a lot of money, and we involved our faculty in what they liked and what they didn't like about this teaching space. And it was a fun place to be. It had escalators and fountains and elevators and, you know, very good open space in the middle, a lot of community, and with big windows. So we had these, you know, you just put this in with a big window like that, people passing back and forth. They loved it. So we renovated it by making it very, very comfortable. And, you know, malls look the same just about everywhere. So we hired this great architect, and he was there during hurricane season. So he was at the beach. And, you know, we put our heads together about what this thing ought to look like. So when you go to this mall, it is wonderful because it has 2 hurricanes in the middle of it with 2 round rooms for discussion. And the whole idea is that you go into this space, and it's the eye of the hurricane. It's the peace in your life. It's where you can really, you know, get involved in your intellectual discussion or whatever it is. And, you know, you go from the craziness outside, we designed from the outside. You come in, and you have your student services right there. And then you go into these beautiful teaching spaces that are quiet, comfortable. The air conditioning does not drive you crazy. The lighting is perfect, and it's soundproof. And it has these wonderful windows all over. Sunlight, we told the contractor we had to have light. So we made them pop 2 of those clear stories in the ceiling. They about had a heart attack. It'll leak. but we wanted the sunlight, and I think you all have the same love of the sunlight as what I'm seeing here, where you get the energy and you have students who've got to stay there. So the faculty helped design this, and we went through this process of, and I'm going to pick on this chair. It's a hard chair. We didn't buy any chairs that you couldn't sit in for longer than, for shorter than 3 hours. You had to have a 3-hour chair. And the faculty all got into it and all designed the spaces and that kind of thing. And from that experience, we won awards for design, and it is the most popular place to teach in the college. And now it's been replicated too, about the kinds of features that we like there. And that was really a team effort of what we liked and what we needed for a good student space. And what the teachers want. We want tables that do certain things, we want chairs that do certain things, we want good AV, we want to be able to not hear your movie, and all of those kinds of things. So from that, the faculty nominated me as Administrator of the Year for the Florida Association of Community Colleges, which I won that year, and I was really pleased to be honored that way. But I like to work like that. I like to work with people getting ideas and hearing what works and what doesn't, and then implementing those kinds of things, getting the money, getting the resources, whatever it takes. So that was one part of my experience. I became Open Campus president from the dean because we grew all of our different programs so big that we were larger than 2 of the other campuses. So it sort of just happened. So I really never applied for or interviewed for a job before. I mean, not in 30 years probably. So this is new for me. Thank you very much. But anyway, I just got promoted to it because we just grew, everything we had, we turned it into something bigger and bigger and better. And the team I had working with me were just exemplary people. So that worked out well. So I told you that I've never had the same year twice in Open Campus. That's really true. We went from economic development and into college credit. And then we also took our Navy program, our military program, and grew it large. And we had always had a presence on the 3 Navy bases that were in Jacksonville, offering college credit courses, in their classrooms, the ones I used to teach in. And we'd done that for a number of years. And after 9/11, there was a call for security training, which I think you all have had some experience with that too. You've got a criminal justice program, we do too. And so we leveraged the criminal justice program to do an offer to the military to do this force protection training, which is actually shooting and hand-to-hand combat. The ships didn't have a tradition of having sailors on the ships with guns. Most of them had never shot guns. So we built that program for them and ran it at the sheriff's office, made an agreement with the sheriff's office that we use some of the money to invest in their berm if they let us use the space. You know how that goes. And so that worked into a nice program too. And that has made us several $1 million of contracted training, which we've used to do some other things with. So that was one area that we grew. And from that military contract, we're eligible for more of them. So about a year and a half ago, we entered into a contract with the Navy to provide training at Great Lakes and Pensacola. And we do all their apprenticeship and career training there. If you go to basic school, if you got a kid that's going to the Navy, they're going to go in our class. And what we're going to do is build an education plan for them that includes their military training and our college credit, so that over time they will get a college, an AA or an AS degree, whichever fits their military rate. And we have done this in concert with the military over time, where they came to us and would tell us that they want certain things. And through the relationship that we have with the military, we have been able to build these degree programs, which now we are implementing. And it's really been a wonderful thing. Well, they came back to us and they said, this is fine, but the National Guard can't use your stuff because they're deployed. They don't have access to online. They aren't doing classroom stuff that we do. So we built programs that were independent of the internet on these small little PDAs and iPods and that kind of thing. They play on anything. And so that was an area we got an earmark for, and we built that for the Army National Guard. So during my spring break, instead of having spring break, we were designing a special presentation for Senator McCain as he came through Jacksonville, because he wanted to see that program and look at our military stuff. So it actually became rather famous, and sort of real cutting edge kind of delivery for online programs. So that was our military side. We had telecourses since the early 80s. I know you do too. I think they're fabulous. I've taught in them also. But over time, we've evolved to online training and online education. And now we've moved from about 800 students involved in our online program to now 42,000 enrollments. And that is I know you're doubling also every year. And we built the infrastructure and the support and the faculty training, professional development to support that. And that has been amazing. And we have made some synergy. Has anybody Googled me? No, you're professors? Oh, you could have. Okay, I feel better already. If you get on our website, the Open Campus website, we have a video on there. And it talks about the synergy among all the different departments of Open Campus. And one of them is the combination of this military and this online credit, where you can start anywhere in the military and finish your degree anywhere online. And so that's been our big partnership, and it's really worked out well. And we've got a videotape where I'm the speaker and I turn into an avatar. You know what an avatar is? Okay. So we're very high tech. We're very much into technology. We have all the support, the online registration and online application for all those variations that you have. We built the infrastructure. I think you've contracted out for some of yours, which I think is maybe even a better idea. And so we have all that infrastructure set and ready to go. The Navy programs have leveraged and challenged the college structure and responsiveness, because you got to make it work and you got to make it now. And that has really been a challenge, but it's been one we've been very successful doing. And because of that success, the Navy has come back to us and said, hey, can you do a learner support center for our Navy spouse program and our other programs? And so we're entering into contracts on that. So if you do well, you get more. And so we've built huge credibility now with that area, and it has really grown into a very, very big and actually growing enterprise. But it came out of working with businesses, doing customized training, doing continuing education, adding on credit, understanding degree programs, working with partners, and putting it all together. We are very degree or certificate oriented. Get finished. Finish something. Keep moving. We're very much advocates of that. It's not pieces and parts. It's really coming together to get your career together. No dead-end job. No dead-end career. That's what we're really all about. And so we've really made that happen. A lot of people talk about it, but you can make it happen if you build degrees that are responsive to industry and revise them. We go through a big program of revising curriculum all the time. We have 144 program areas. We have, the college right now is just, has now entered into bachelor's degrees. So Florida is morphing from its traditional role into bachelor degree granting institutions, primarily because the universities are not responsive, will not grow, and we are. So I think that's by default, it's not by plan, but we certainly have gotten into that. And when we go to the honors luncheon, we talk to our graduates, say, where are you going next? They said, we don't know. Oh, geez, why can't you have a bachelor's degree here? Well, we have a wonderful relationship with our university, at least we did till yesterday, where they take our transfers. That's guaranteed by state law, I think like it is here. But yesterday, they told us that they had a cap on their enrollment, they didn't have enough money, and they weren't going to take our transfers this spring, so we're going to have a war. It's going to be bad. I don't think you're, going to let it come to that. So those are the things that are happening in Florida, and those are the kinds of problems and issues that we deal with. So I think that sort of gives you some sort of a background. I spent all of my career at Florida Community College and community colleges. I didn't know what they were when I got into one, and I'm totally dedicated to them and think they're the best thing ever. They are the really best hope for I think our future. And certainly you're in an area with your giant layoff where you've been able to prove how responsive you were to them to do this re-career, help people change their aspirations, do counseling, career counseling, whatever it takes, and get ready for the next big thing, which is right across the highway. The Kannapolis thing is amazing, and I think people will be envious of this institution and what it can do, and the partnerships it can pull together, and the future that it can build for the community and for other people. It's just very, very, very exciting. So that's that part. On the community side, I've been involved with a lot of community organizations on the Rotary and that kind of thing. I think the thing that I'm most passionate about in my own community work is working with our leadership programs. I do a community trusteeship training for leaders, for Leadership Jacksonville and other different leadership programs around the country. And I help build that curriculum through ethical leadership, Robert Greenleaf's work of servant leadership, which is how I see myself and how I want to behave. And we built a curriculum for the nation, which is being used throughout the nation. And so that's an area of practice for me. I use that same material and the leadership programs as the subject of my dissertation from Columbia University, where they talk about great adult transformational learning. Okay, so I've seen transformational learning. I've seen it in these community leadership programs when they say, oh, this changed my life. Well, you've had students say, oh, this changed my life. I want to make that happen for people. I want that transformational learning to happen for students and for leaders in particular. So I've really spent a lot of time trying to make that happen. And so I ended up getting on the national board for community leadership and then ultimately the president of that board for community leadership. And then we internationalized it, bringing in Australia and United Kingdom and Canada. And, you know, if you build it, they will come. People are interested in this. The idea of leadership is one thing. And leading people to a goal is one thing, but the whole idea of common good is really what inspires me and I think what makes our country great. So that's the part I'm very, very passionate about. I did some work using community trusteeship to do a visioning process for the city. The city of Jacksonville is consolidated, it has one government. I recommend it to you. I know it's not possible, but if you have enough people go to jail at one time, you can actually consolidate your government. And your school's disaccredited, and a hurricane, and all those things came together and just sort of messed up Jacksonville in 1964. And from that, the community leaders came together and said, you know, we just need one of these things we have to pay attention to, so we have one government. And that is marvelous, because it's very easy to do business there. You don't have all these people you have to touch base with. And it's wonderful for community college, because you have one mayor, and one of these, and one of these, and one of these. You have to be friends with them all, but there's only one of them. And that part's very good. But we had a new mayor come in, and he was, you know, worried about this vision thing. Remember the vision thing in the 90s? And I had just gone through this development process for visioning. So we volunteered as a community college and Leadership Jacksonville to come together to do this visioning process. So we involved the newspaper put an ad out, anybody wants to come, come. We had 1,000 people come. We set up the whole convention center, had all those people come together to put their vision together through a process. And then out of that group, we elected some representatives, built some other people in, because we wanted that 100 group. We went from 1,000 to 100 to finish the vision for Jacksonville. That vision was wildly successful because it led to a $358 million bond issue for the city and got us to the next level, where we have all kinds of new infrastructure and things like that. And we actually passed a tax on ourselves and those kinds of things. So Jacksonville was very well served by the action of all of these folks. And we took that visioning process, we did it in the college and did our own mission statement. So we used that same sort of community involvement to get the best thinking of everyone so that we can build something we can all live with. That mission statement still stands. And it includes global education and, you know, being a prosperous community and looking at the common good as well. So I think that's probably enough from me at one fell swoop. And I'd love to hear your questions and be able to ask you some. If you want a resume, where's my husband? There he is, okay. I've got some extra resumes I'd be glad to share with you, but please feel free to ask me any questions right now. I'd love to hear them, yes. And you tell me what you do and who you are.
Yes, Tim Kennedy, Institutional Effectiveness. What level of importance do you place on the assessment of academic and non-academic programs?
I think it's hugely important. This whole accountability movement is not going away. And I read your scorecard on your, and how well you did here at this institution in terms of accountability measures, and everybody's to be congratulated. I think that's terrific. I think it's very important. We tend to have, as you came up in community colleges, it was more about attendance than quality in the early days. Accessibility was our number one value. And now I think we couple that with accountability. I mean, you're not just here, you're here to succeed. And we're gonna help you succeed. And I think if you don't measure it, you won't know that. And the fact that you guys actually know what your students want to do so that you can measure whether they got it, that's to be commended too. We don't do that. And I think that's the real one. That's the most important one to me. Job placement certainly is, and feedback from employers. All those things give us the feedback we need for continuous improvement, and I'm big on that. You know, I really want to hear what's broken. I want to hear it early. I want to hear what's broken so we can fix it, or what needs to be improved on, we can fix it. You know, if you wait too long, it's harder. So I really like to hear bad news. Isn't that awful? I really do like to hear bad news. I want to hear it early. I want to hear it before the board hears it. And that's really important to me. So I really like to, what are you hearing, what are you knowing? And I think those things are a good way of getting a wake-up call of, telling you how you stand, what your standards are. Community colleges have to prove themselves now, they always have, because we're sort of ignored. We won't be ignored much longer because we have 50% of all the students in higher education in community colleges. We have the critical mass. And, this President Bush came to see us early on, and he's been to multiple community colleges touting what community colleges can do, and I think every candidate now is doing that too. So I think we've got a great story to tell, and this is a way of telling it. This is a way people understand it. Okay. Yes, sir?
Pete Stetchy, Instructional Technologies. I was wondering whether, since you worked with the Navy, I have a son in the Navy, a nuclear submarine, whether your school worked with Old Dominion by any chance? Because Old Dominion.
We don't. We don't, but we have articulation agreements with 11 universities. We're part of the Navy and military go through and they put out bids and they let you bid on stuff. And then they work with you and give you money. So we're in the first group of the distance learning consortium. They didn't get in that first group. But there are, that whole Tidewater area is a big partner of ours for some things. And Jacksonville sees itself competing with Norfolk for ships and stuff like that. So we tend to articulate our credit to primarily Florida schools and then people who have online bachelor's degrees or master's degrees. So they're a player, but they're not our first relationship. Yes, sir.
Greg Myers, Curriculum Development. How would you internationalize us if you think that would be appropriate?
Oh, you're already internationalized. Everybody's already internationalized. They just don't know if you drive a Toyota, they're internationalized.
Wait a minute, you're not clairvoyant.
Yeah, no.
He has a Prius.
You have a Prius? Oh. Really? All right, okay. Well, that's really good. Okay, I know a lot about you when you buy a Prius. Okay. But it's hard not to be internationalized, but people don't think about it. And I think it's better to make that learning overt rather than covert, And you can do it through international studies specifically. You can infuse it throughout the curriculum, or you can have one course. Now, I was an international studies major, so I love that stuff. What I lived for was, I saved all my money from babysitting and everything to go to Europe when I was 20. And I thought, okay, I'm not gonna talk bad about legal too much, but I will talk bad on food. And that is that all fish was square, because they only came from fish. We had no vegetables that began with A, no artichokes, no asparagus, none of that stuff. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven for all that food over there. So I like it. I like international food. I like international people. You don't understand your own. I have a minor, had a minor in French. I don't think I could do anything with it now. And my English teacher, my French teacher was born in England, and he says, you don't understand your own language till you understand somebody else's. You don't appreciate your own country till you understand somebody else's. And you can get on the TV in those little spurts, but it's not until you actually have enjoyed the culture or know the people or interact with people that you really understand and appreciate your own country. So that's why I would do it. How I would do it, there's multiple ways of doing it. You can do it with Fulbright scholars, you can do it with international studies majors, you can do it with international trade, you can do it with, you take anything. We've got a contract on this criminal justice thing. Well, one of the admirals wants us to do training for a South American country. That sort of scares me. Can you do this in Spanish? Can you do it in blue, green? Whatever it is, community colleges can do it. I think it's really important for our students to see and to interact with them, to know they're a part of an international world. That reason that those mills are closed is an international trade issue. It's an international issue. If you don't know about China, you don't know. Fran and I went to China a year and a half ago because I wanted to experience it. So we went with a bunch of community college people because I was afraid of it. I mean, we were afraid of Japan until they went sort of under, right? And we were afraid of this, I'm tired of being afraid. I am tired of being afraid. And so we went to China, and we had a wonderful time. We had 4 Chinese people with us who lived in the United States. One who was going there to see their relatives that they had not seen since their grandparents were there. They were in Taiwan and got out. So we had a lot of that kind of experience. To see Shanghai is unbelievable, or Beijing, or any of that stuff. Sure, you can read the politics. But we got a hold of these English newspapers. And in there are articles about homeschooling, environmental degradation, pollution, just all kinds of social issues. We didn't really understand that, what they were grappling with. And I came away from that thinking, I'm not afraid of these people at all. They're more like us than a lot of people are. They're very energetic, they are very driven, but they don't make me afraid. They don't make me afraid. So I think the more of that, I think the better we are. We need to grow and energize ourselves and teach ourselves and all that out of the need for prosperity and the need for keeping our families together and all those things, not out of fear. Fear doesn't drive me anymore. It just drives me crazy. So I think it's real important to have a lot of mix. And you can do it lots of kinds of ways. You can do it international affairs way. My guess is, you've got a lot of people coming here now with the dollar the way it is. There's all kinds of ways that people would come over here now and spend money. So, you can change your majors, you can look at trade, you can do all different kinds of things. We have a port in Jacksonville that keeps us doing a lot more international. You can have student exchange trips. You can do, we could make a list of very affordable things. Some are cheap and easy. You can have your two-way video for your telecourses or whichever way you want to do it with Denmark right now. They want to have classes with you. A lot of internet. I'm on the Global Commission for American Association of Community Colleges. I'm on a board. I'm going off that board this year after 3 years. I'm on the Global Commission, and you can have your classrooms. You can have classes now. It doesn't cost you anything but the transmission, which they'll probably pay for. Or you can do it through Skype, and internet for almost free, and get those students together right now. So you can do it cheap and easy, or you can do it as expensive as you want. But if you're not doing it, you got to think about it, because it's very enriching. And if you've been teaching the same thing for a while, it's a great way to reinvigorate yourself and your class and get people ready for the future for here. This thing in Kannapolis, that's not going to just affect the United States. That's big enough to go worldwide. And I think you'll see a lot of people coming in. Those scientists are going to be worldwide. So you're going to see your own neighborhoods change, I think. Is that too long of an answer?
Surely there's other questions.
That's one.
I'm Spencer Rummage, Director of Law Enforcement Training for Rowan-Cabarrus.
Okay.
We have a large law enforcement training program here. We train a lot of public service personnel, fire, police, and rescue. We've also got criminal justice two-year degree program as well. And I heard you speak to being a probation parole officer, I think, and also to working with security training as well. Could you speak to what other experience you may have had with public service personnel as far as developing programs, supervision, oversight of training police officers? I know there's a lot of police training goes on in your state.
Okay, we are the trainer for the police, we are the trainer for the firefighters, and we're going now, we now have an aviation program. So that was our next big thing. We just got approved by the FAA to do that kind of training as well. Then we went in with the Aviation Authority to do it's really a painting plant. You paint airplanes. So we've got all kinds of things going on, both public-private partnerships and sector coming together. The Navy is also the criminal justice degree in the Navy. So we do all of those things. Our first and only right now, bachelor's degree is in firefighting. And we got 2 earmarks for a burn building and a burn ship. And it is going to be unbelievable what you'll be able to learn there. We've hidden it, it's back in the woods. But it is a preeminent training center right now for the Southeast probably. And we have those 2 things coming. But we have huge partnerships with that. EMT, we have a big health-related program that also speaks to that. We had a sort of a semi-social worker public service degree program that didn't go over well, and we closed it. So we haven't hit everything, but we certainly have hit those areas of need. We continue to talk to police and fire and others about what's needed in the future. And we did get this. Actually, the firefighter and the force protection is what it called area came out of the first contract was for culinary arts. The Navy needed cooks. We had that. We put in this little thing. We did it. We did it well. And they needed haircuts. They need haircuts. So we're doing barber training. Okay, and on that same campus, this wasn't even my campus. It's North Campus. From that came the next one, which is what can you do about teaching people how to shoot guns? Well, we'll go talk to the sheriff and use the sheriff while I was training. We did that. And then, so we've had a lot of relationships with that. I think we've hit every public service area. We have also the utilities. We do a lot of training for the utility company. And we do a lot of testing for the utility company. We do pre-employment testing for the utility company. We charge them a lot of money for that. They pay it. And the Port Authority is now paying us the same sort of thing for pre-employment training. Pre-employment screening we do. Our testing centers just don't test college level area or TABE or ESL. We do 500 different kinds of tests. We do all kinds of computer tests, finals, C++ and all of that. And then we'll do food service handlers. That's big money. So we do a lot of testing for public reasons. Lots of that. Yes, sir.
How do you work at the school with healthcare and working with the community in healthcare and trying to address our health issues in terms of having enough trained CNAs, nurses, LPNs, etc.?
So the question is,
how did you work with those programs? Do you have those programs? How big are they, etc.? Because the whole country has got a grave need in that.
that's very true. That's very true. The college has the 4th largest nursing